The remains and the encounter. The battlefield was silent now. The war had moved on, leaving only broken walls, burned machines, and the smell of smoke. In the middle of that silence, a single human walked. His uniform was torn. His body was weak. His breath came out heavy, like every step was his last. This soldier had no name here. His friends were gone. His commanders were dead. He was the last one still alive in this ruined city, and he knew it would not be for long. The human stopped near a cracked stone pillar. He sat down slowly, his legs shaking. Blood had dried on his arm. He looked at his pack. Inside was almost nothing. Only crumbs of bread, a small piece of dried meat, and one can of water. Not enough for even a single day. He thought of his people back on Earth. He thought of the war that had dragged them across the stars. And then he thought of death. His lips curved into a bitter smile. "I will not go home," he whispered to the empty ruins. "So let the wild creatures have me." With slow hands, he pulled out what little food he had left. He placed it on the ground. He even tore strips of his bloody bandage and threw them aside like bait for animals. His body leaned back against the pillar. He waited for the end. The wind carried strange sounds through the ruins. The human closed his eyes. He thought scavenger beasts would come soon. He thought his flesh would feed them. That would be his final gift to this dead world, but then he heard it, not growls, not claws, whispers. The human's eyes opened fast. Shadows moved at the edge of the ruined street. 3 shapes, small, thin, but not animals. They stepped forward, and the broken light of the dying sun revealed them. 3 girls, not human. Their skin was pale silver, marked with bruises and scars. Their eyes were large, glowing faintly in the dark. Their clothes were torn rags. They looked half-starved. They looked like children of a burned empire. The human's hand went to his side where his rifle lay. His finger brushed the weapon. His tired body tensed. Were they enemies? Were they survivors from the alien army that had fought against his people? The girls did not rush him. They stood there, trembling. Their eyes moved again and again to the food he had thrown on the ground. The youngest one licked her lips. The tallest one held the others back, as if afraid to come closer. The human's heart pounded. He thought, if I let them near, they may kill me. If I shoot them, I will waste my last strength. What should I do? 1 step, then another. The smallest alien girl moved forward. Her legs shook like she would fall. She bent down, picked up a crumb of bread, and stuffed it into her mouth. Tears ran from her strange glowing eyes as she chewed. The others followed. Slowly, carefully, they picked at the scraps. They looked at the human, but did not attack. They only ate like starving creatures who had found a miracle. The human let out a long breath. He pulled his hand away from the rifle. His chest ached, not from the wound, but from something else. Pity. He spoke, his voice low, almost broken. "Food." The girls stopped. They looked at him, their heads tilting. The tallest one repeated, clumsy but clear, "F-ooh." It was the first word they shared. The human nodded. He pushed the small can of water toward them across the dirt. The eldest girl grabbed it, sniffed it, then shared it with the other 2. They drank in turns as if the metal can was a treasure. The human watched them. He did not smile, but his eyes softened. Maybe he was not alone after all. The sun dropped lower and the ruins grew dark. Strange calls echoed far away. Night in this place was dangerous. The human leaned back, too weak to move. The alien girls huddled near each other, but their glowing eyes never left him. And then he felt it, the weight of their stares. Not only hunger for food, something else. Were they afraid of him? Or were they waiting for him to fall so they could eat more than bread and scraps? The human's hand moved back toward his rifle. His fingers rested on the cold metal. He did not close his eyes this time. He kept them open, locked on the 3 alien girls. The ruins were silent, but inside that silence, one question burned like fire. Were they his new allies, or the ones who would finish him when he fell asleep? The night began. The human did not know if he would see the morning. The ruins grew colder as night took over. Broken towers stood like black teeth against the red sky. The human soldier sat with his back to the stone pillar, his eyes heavy but never closing. Across the dirt, the 3 alien girls still watched him. Their glowing eyes made the dark even darker. They had eaten his food. They had shared his water. But their hunger was not gone. He could see it in their thin arms, their shaking legs, He wondered if one day, when he was too weak to move, they would look at him not as a savior but as a meal. The soldier's hand stayed near his rifle. The weapon was his only friend now. He told himself, do not trust. Do not sleep. Survive until dawn. The youngest alien girl shifted closer. Her steps were slow, cautious like a stray animal approaching fire. She stopped a few feet away from the soldier and whispered a word. It was broken, twisted by her alien tongue, but he understood. Food. The soldier's jaw tightened. He had nothing left to give. His pack was empty. His body was weaker than ever. He shook his head. No food. The girl tilted her head, confused. Her glowing eyes seemed to plead with him, but she stepped back when the soldier's hand touched the rifle. The eldest girl pulled the youngest away. She whispered something in her own language. The sounds were sharp, secretive, like warnings. The soldier could not understand the words, but he could feel their meaning. Stay away from him. He is dangerous. Hours passed. The soldier's head dropped forward, but each time it did, he forced himself awake. He could not risk sleep. Strange noises echoed in the ruins. Metal scraping, rocks shifting, shadows moving where no wind blew. Something out there was alive. Something other than them. At last, near midnight, the soldier's eyes closed for just a moment. Only a moment. When they opened again, the rifle at his side was gone. His chest froze. His hand grabbed empty dirt. His heart slammed inside his chest. He turned sharply, his eyes searching the dark. There, 10 steps away, the eldest alien girl held the rifle. The weapon looked too large for her thin arms, but she held it steady. Its barrel pointed nowhere, but her glowing eyes were locked on him. The soldier's breath was quick. This is it, he thought. I fed them, and now they will kill me with my own gun. He pushed himself up, ready to rush her even though his body was broken. But then he froze. The girl turned the rifle away from him. She aimed it into the ruins, toward the shadows. She pressed her finger against the trigger, though she clearly did not understand how it worked. Her whole body trembled, but she stood like a guard. The soldier blinked. Slowly, carefully, he stepped closer. He stretched his hand toward her. Give it, he said softly. The girl's glowing eyes met his. For a moment, there was no sound. Only the heavy silence of 2 survivors facing each other. Then she lowered the rifle and placed it back into his hands. The soldier gripped the weapon tight. But instead of anger, he felt something strange. Respect. She had not stolen the rifle to kill him. She had held it to protect the others. Before he could think more, a low rumble rolled across the ruins. The ground shook. The youngest girl cried out, clinging to her sister. From the distance, lights flashed, bright, artificial, and moving. The soldier's stomach twisted. He knew that light. Patrol ships. The enemy was searching the ruins. The eldest alien girl grabbed his arm with surprising strength. She pointed toward the broken street, then pulled him. Her words came fast, urgent, though he could not understand them. He looked at the flashing lights again. The sound of engines was growing louder. He did not want to follow them. They were aliens, strangers, maybe even traps. But he also knew, if he stayed where he was, the patrol would find him. He was too weak to fight. The soldier let them pull him into the shadows. They moved through broken walls, crawling under fallen beams, sliding into cracks in the earth. The youngest girl led the way now, her glowing eyes like lanterns in the dark. They stopped at a hidden entrance, half buried by rubble. The eldest girl pressed her thin hands against a stone slab and pushed with all her strength. A narrow tunnel opened. The soldier hesitated. Darkness yawned before him. But the sound of engines outside grew closer. Boots. Voices. They were coming. The eldest girl met his eyes again, her face pale and tired, but her gaze sharp with meaning. She pointed into the tunnel. Then she pointed at the sky, where the patrol lights cut across the ruins. It was not a request. It was a choice, trust her. Or die here. The soldier tightened his grip on his rifle. His chest burned with doubt. But then he stepped forward into the blackness of the tunnel. The stone closed behind them, swallowing the ruins, the lights, and the world above. For the first time in days, the soldier felt something he had not allowed himself to feel. Hope. But in that same moment, another thought burned in his mind. Have I walked into their trap? The tunnel was dark and narrow, the air heavy with dust. The human soldier moved slowly, following the faint glow of the alien girl's eyes. His rifle was clutched tight against his chest. Every step echoed too loud in his ears, and every heartbeat felt like a drum warning the enemy of his presence. The girls whispered to each other in their strange tongue, voices soft and quick. The sound made him uneasy. Were they guiding him deeper to safety, or leading him into a trap? The youngest girl looked back once, her pale face lit by her glowing eyes. She gave him a nervous smile before running forward again. The eldest said nothing. She walked with the rifle in her memory, as if she still carried the weight of it even though she had returned it. The tunnel bent downward until the soldier lost sight of the world above. Soon they reached a small cavern. The girls huddled together on one side, whispering. The human sat against a wall of stone, his body aching. His wounds were raw and his strength was fading. He held the rifle close, his only promise of survival. He told himself, do not trust. Rest, but do not sleep. But exhaustion was stronger than his will. His eyes grew heavy. His grip on the rifle loosened. For a moment he dreamed of Earth. Green fields, blue oceans, his mother's voice. He dreamed of peace. Then he woke. The rifle was gone. His heart jumped. He scrambled to his knees, his hands clawing the dirt. The weapon had vanished. The girls were gone too. Panic burned through him. His chest pounded. He staggered to his feet, searching the cavern. The whispers were gone. Only silence remained. They took it, he thought. They waited until I was weak, and now they left me to die. He limped forward, his fists clenched. He wanted to rage, but rage would not save him. He needed the rifle. Without it, he was nothing but prey. He followed faint footprints in the dust. They led deeper into the tunnels. He moved quietly, pressing himself against the stone, ears straining for sound. And then he heard it. Footsteps ahead. Voices. Not the girls. Heavy boots, soldiers, the enemy patrol. The human froze, pressed flat against the wall. Light beams cut through the dark ahead. Alien soldiers, armored and armed, swept the tunnel. Their voices barked orders. His breath caught in his throat. Without the rifle, he was helpless. One step closer and they would see him. Suddenly, a shadow darted across the passage. It was the eldest alien girl. She held his rifle in her hands. The weapon looked clumsy in her grip, but she stood firm. The patrol raised their weapons. Light beams locked on her. The soldier's heart sank. She will fire. She will betray me, but she did not. Instead, she aimed at the patrol. Her hands shook. She pulled the trigger. The gun clicked. Empty. No bullets. The patrol laughed, stepping closer. The human's body moved before his mind. He leapt from the shadows, grabbing a fallen stone from the ground. He smashed it into the nearest soldier's head. The armor cracked. The soldier fell. The others turned in surprise, but in the confusion, the eldest girl swung the rifle like a club, knocking one off balance. The cavern erupted into chaos. The human ripped the weapon from her hands. He pointed it, though he knew it was empty. He shouted, a sound full of fury. The enemy hesitated just long enough for him to grab a blade from the fallen soldier's side. He slashed, cutting deep. Another enemy fell. The last soldier fled, shouting into his comms. His footsteps faded into the distance. Silence returned, broken only by the soldier's ragged breath. He leaned against the wall, the empty rifle shaking in his hands. The eldest girl stood before him, her chest rising and falling fast. Her glowing eyes met his. She had not stolen the rifle to kill him. She had taken it to protect him, even though she did not understand it was empty. The youngest and middle sisters ran to her, clinging tight. They looked at the human with something new in their eyes. Not just hunger, not just fear, something closer to trust. The human sank to the ground. He stared at them, his chest burning with confusion. Why had they saved him? Why had he saved them? He closed his eyes for a moment, too tired to think. When he opened them again, he saw light far in the distance. Not torchlight, not patrol beams. Strange, shifting light. Glowing blue symbols carved into the tunnel walls. They pulsed faintly, alive with hidden power. The eldest girl pointed at the symbols. She spoke quickly in her alien tongue, her voice urgent. The other two nodded. The human stared at the symbols, uneasy. They looked like writing, ancient and powerful. The air near them hummed, almost alive. He gripped his rifle tight. Empty or not, it was all he had. The girls stepped closer to the glowing walls. Their hands touched the symbols and the cavern vibrated softly. The human's heart pounded. Whatever secret they carried, it was bigger than survival, bigger than food, bigger than him, and now, whether he liked it or not, he was part of it. The soldier stared at the glowing walls. Strange blue symbols pulsed faintly across the stone, twisting like veins of light. They were not human letters. They were older, sharper, filled with meaning he could not read. Yet when he looked too long, he felt something in his chest stir, like the symbols whispered to him in silence. The eldest alien girl stepped forward. Her hands trembled as she touched the wall. At once, the symbols glowed brighter, filling the tunnel with blue light. The air grew warmer. The hum grew louder. The soldier raised his empty rifle, his body tense. "What are you doing?" he whispered, though he knew they could not understand his words. The girls spoke to each other quickly in their alien tongue. Their voices rose and fell like music, nervous but excited. The middle sister pressed her hand to the wall next, and the glow spread farther, lighting up more symbols along the stone. The soldier took a step back. The cavern no longer felt like a safe hiding place. It felt alive, like the walls themselves were watching him. "What is this?" he muttered, sweat dripping down his neck. The youngest girl looked at him, her glowing eyes wide with innocence. She stepped closer and placed her tiny hand on his chest over his heart. She whispered one word, broken but clear. "Home." The soldier froze. He looked at the glowing walls, then at the child. He shook his head slowly. "No, this is not home." But the eldest girl interrupted. She pulled something from under her ragged clothing, a small metallic shard. It shimmered with the same blue light as the wall. She held it carefully, almost reverently, and pressed it against the symbols. The stone shifted. The wall opened. A hidden door revealed itself, sliding aside with a deep rumble. Beyond it lay a chamber unlike anything the soldier had ever seen. The air inside was cooler, cleaner, untouched by war. Blue light filled the room, spilling from pillars and consoles made of alien metal. The soldier's throat went dry. He stepped forward slowly, rifle ready. The girls followed, whispering in awe. Their faces lit with relief, like travelers who had finally found water after days in the desert. The chamber was large, with smooth walls and a high ceiling. In the center stood a pedestal, and on it, a device unlike anything the soldier knew. It was small, black, and humming faintly. Its surface was covered with the same glowing blue symbols. The eldest girl approached it with care. She placed the shard into a slot on the device. Instantly, the humming grew louder. The chamber shook. Light spilled across the walls, forming patterns, maps, and strange alien diagrams that shifted in the air. The soldier lifted his weapon, his breath sharp. He had seen many things in war, ships, weapons, machines. But this was different. This felt alive. The eldest girl turned to him, her glowing eyes steady. She pointed at the device, then at him. He frowned. "What do you want from me?" She pressed her hand to her chest. Then she pressed her hand to the device. Finally, she pointed at him again. The soldier's stomach twisted. He understood only one thing. They needed him. But why? The middle girl moved to the wall, tracing symbols with her finger. Images flickered in the air, stars, planets, fleets of ships. The soldier saw Earth for just a moment, then it vanished into the stream of alien light. He stepped back, his chest heavy. "They know of Earth," he thought. "They know where we came from." The youngest girl touched his hand. Her skin was cold, but her grip was soft. She whispered the word again. "Home." The soldier's mind raced. This was no hiding place. This was no safe shelter. This was something greater, something the war had been fought over. A secret. A treasure. Before he could ask himself more, the sound of boots echoed through the tunnels again. The enemy patrol had not given up. Their voices grew closer, shouting orders. The chamber trembled under the weight of explosions outside. The eldest girl looked at the soldier desperately. She grabbed his arm, pointing to the device, then to the tunnel entrance. He understood. The patrol was coming, and if they found this chamber, this device, they would destroy it. The soldier lifted his rifle. Empty or not, it was still his weapon. His heart pounded as he faced the tunnel entrance. For the first time, he no longer wondered if the girls were a trap. Now he wondered if they were the only reason he was still alive. The humming of the device grew louder, as if it was answering his thoughts. The blue light filled the chamber, burning against the shadows of the approaching soldiers. The human narrowed his eyes. "If this is the secret they hide," he thought, "then I will guard it too, even if it kills me." The sound of boots stopped outside the chamber door. Silence fell. Then a metallic voice barked an order. The enemy had found them. The soldier tightened his grip on the rifle. The door began to shake. The chamber door shook again, harder this time. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The enemy soldiers shouted on the other side, their voices sharp and cold. Any second now the door would fall. The human soldier gripped his rifle tighter, though he knew it was still empty. His breath came fast. His heart beat like a drum. He looked at the three alien girls. They were pressed close to each other, eyes wide with fear, glowing like frightened lamps in the dark. The eldest girl pointed toward the tunnels on the far side of the chamber. She pulled at his arm, urging him to run, but the soldier stood firm. If we run, they'll chase us. If they catch us in the tunnels, we're dead. Of course, they could not understand his words, but they seemed to understand his eyes. The eldest girl shook her head, her face tight with urgency. She lifted the shard from the device again. At once, the blue light faded. The chamber dimmed. The soldier's stomach dropped. She shut it down, he thought. She doesn't want them to find it. The door cracked. A beam of light pierced the room. No time left. Move, the soldier barked, though his voice was only a whisper. He grabbed the youngest girl's hand and pulled her toward the tunnel. The other two followed close behind. The chamber behind them roared as the door finally gave way. Boots stormed in. Voices shouted. A blast struck the walls, shaking the stone. The soldier and the girls sprinted into the tunnels. The passage was narrow and twisting, their footsteps echoing. The soldier's lungs burned, his wounds aching with every step, but fear pushed him forward. Fear, and the small hands of the alien girls pulling him through the dark. The youngest girl's glow lit the way, bouncing with every hurried step. Behind them, the enemy soldiers gave chase. Their boots thundered like falling rocks. The soldier's mind raced. We can't outrun them forever. The tunnels split into many paths. Left, right, down, up, each one a maze of stone. The middle sister stopped suddenly. She pressed her hand against a symbol carved on the wall. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the stone shifted, revealing a hidden gap. The soldier didn't hesitate. He pushed the girls inside first, then slipped in after them. The gap closed behind them just as beams of enemy flashlights swept past. The soldier held his breath. The girls pressed close against him, their small bodies trembling. He could hear the soldiers outside shouting in frustration, their voices bouncing down the tunnels. Minutes passed like hours. The patrol moved on. The soldier finally let out a breath. But relief lasted only seconds. The eldest girl pointed deeper into the hidden passage. She whispered quickly, her voice sharp. The soldier frowned. What is it? Then he heard it, a low rumble. The sound of machines. Not soldiers this time, drones. The hidden passage opened into a wider tunnel. And there, hovering in the dark, were two enemy drones. Their red eyes glowed, their weapons already charging. Down! The soldier shouted. He pulled the girls behind him. The drones fired, beams slicing through the stone, sparks filling the air. The soldier rolled aside, grabbing a loose metal pipe from the ground. He hurled it at the nearest drone. The pipe struck its sensor, and the machine spun wildly, firing into the wall. Rock collapsed, blocking half the tunnel. The second drone swooped lower, its weapons aimed directly at the girls. The soldier ran forward, no plan in his mind, only instinct. He leapt onto the drone, grabbing its frame. It buzzed and shook, trying to throw him off. He slammed it against the wall once, twice, 3 times until sparks burst from its body. Finally, it collapsed, lifeless. The soldier fell to his knees, panting, his hands cut and bloody. The girls rushed to him, pulling at his arms, urging him to get up. But before he could rise, the tunnel shook again. Far away, the voices of soldiers echoed, closer now. The patrol had heard the fight. The eldest girl pulled the shard from her clothing again. She pressed it against the wall. Blue light spread across the stone, symbols glowing like fireflies. The tunnel rumbled and another path opened. The soldier stared. How many of these hidden doors are there? He didn't ask. He only ran, pushing the girls through. They spilled out onto the surface. Cold night air hit his face. The ruins stretched around them, lit by the pale moon and the searchlights of patrol ships hovering above. The soldier's chest tightened. They were exposed. A spotlight swept across the ground, nearly catching them. The soldier dragged the girls into the shadows of a broken tower. The engines of the ships roared above, hunting. The girls huddled close, their glowing eyes dim with fear. The eldest clutched the shard like her life depended on it. The soldier's gaze hardened. He was tired, bleeding, starving, but none of that mattered now. because he understood one thing: the patrol would never stop hunting them. The girls carried a secret the enemy wanted, and as long as they lived, so did that secret. The soldier raised his empty rifle, scanning the skies. His voice was low, but his words were sharp. "They'll chase us to the ends of this world. Then we'll just have to run farther." The searchlights drew closer, beams slicing through the ruins. The sound of boots echoed again. The chase was far from over. The ruins shook with engines. Searchlights cut through the night, crawling over the broken towers like hunting eyes. The human soldier crouched in the shadows of a shattered wall. His hands gripped his empty rifle. His chest burned with each breath. Beside him, the three alien girls huddled together. Their glowing eyes flicked nervously toward the skies. The eldest clutched the shard close against her chest. The middle sister whispered something in their strange tongue. The youngest pressed her face into her sister's arms, trembling. The soldier looked at them, his mind racing. "We can't keep running. They'll catch us sooner or later." Boots echoed on stone. Enemy soldiers marched closer. The human pressed his back to the wall, pulling the girls lower into the dirt. His heart thundered in his chest. He whispered more to himself than to them. "This is where it ends." The eldest girl looked at him sharply, as if she understood. She shook her head, whispering urgently in her alien language. She pointed toward the shard, then toward the device hidden back in the tunnels. But it was too late. Floodlights exploded across the ruins, blinding them. Dozens of enemy soldiers surrounded their hiding place. Weapons raised. Voices shouted commands. The human lifted his rifle, though he knew it carried no bullets. He stood between the soldiers and the girls. His legs trembled, but his eyes were sharp, cold. He thought of his fallen squad. He thought of the home he would never see again. His jaw tightened. "If I fall, I will fall buying them time." The enemy commander stepped forward, his voice harsh. "Human, drop your weapon! Hand over the aliens!" The soldier spat blood onto the ground. He raised his empty rifle higher. "You'll have to kill me first," the commander sneered. He raised his hand to give the order. But before he could, the eldest girl cried out. She held the shard high above her head. Blue light erupted from it, spilling across the ruins like a wave. The ground shook. The soldiers stumbled. The shard pulsed with raw power. Strange symbols appeared in the air, glowing like fireflies. A deep hum filled the ruins, vibrating through the soldiers' bones. The human glanced back, his eyes wide. The shard was not just a key. It was a weapon. The eldest girl thrust it forward. A shockwave burst out, slamming into the enemy soldiers. They were thrown back like rag dolls, their weapons flying from their hands. The floodlights shattered. The night went dark again. The shard's glow dimmed. The eldest girl fell to her knees, gasping. The younger sisters rushed to her side, holding her trembling body. The human stared, stunned. But the sound of shouting returned. More soldiers were coming. The patrol ships above dipped lower, their cannons charging. The soldier's eyes hardened. He pulled the eldest girl to her feet, supporting her weight. He spoke quickly, though they could not understand. "You can't use it again. It's killing you." The middle sister shook her head, pointing at the shard. She spoke a single broken human word, her voice urgent. "Power." The human swallowed hard. His grip on the rifle tightened. "Then we use it one last time." The ships above opened fire. Explosions tore through the ruins, spraying stone and fire. The soldier dragged the girls toward the edge of a cliff. Below them stretched a black canyon, deep and endless. The enemy soldiers closed in from behind. The ships circled overhead. They were trapped. The soldier turned to the girls. His voice was rough but steady. "Listen, I'll hold them off. You run, you live." The eldest girl shook her head violently. She grabbed his arm, her glowing eyes fierce. "No." Together. The soldier felt something strange in his chest, a warmth he had not felt since before the war. He almost smiled. "Together, then." He turned to face the enemy. He raised his rifle one last time. The eldest girl lifted the shard again, though her body trembled. The middle sister held her hands out, touching the glowing symbols that appeared in the air. The youngest clung to her sisters, whispering softly. The sky lit up as the patrol ships fired. The ruins thundered. The cliff shook beneath their feet. The shard flared brighter than ever before. The soldier stood in front of the girls, his body a shield, his rifle raised though it was empty. The enemy charge began. Soldiers stormed forward, weapons blazing. The human roared, a sound full of fury, defiance, and life. The shard's shockwave burst out again, stronger, wider, Brighter, it swallowed the ruins in blue light. Soldiers screamed as they were thrown back. Ships shuddered in the sky, their engines breaking apart. The force knocked the soldier to his knees. His vision blurred. His body felt heavy, broken. But he held his rifle high, refusing to fall. The girls collapsed behind him, drained but alive. The canyon echoed with the roar of destruction. The night burned with blue fire. When the light faded, silence fell. The soldier knelt at the cliff's edge, his body shaking. The enemy was gone, scattered, or destroyed. The ruins were quiet once more. He turned his head slightly. The girls were still breathing, weak but alive. His lips curved into a tired smile. Not bad. For our last stand. Then his strength gave way and darkness pulled at him, human legacy. The ruins were silent again. Smoke drifted through the broken towers. The ground still glowed faintly from the blue shockwave. Pieces of enemy ships burned in the distance. The patrol soldiers were gone, scattered like dust. In the middle of it all, the human soldier lay on the ground near the cliff's edge. His body was broken, his uniform torn, his breath shallow. His rifle was still in his hand, though it was cracked and useless. The 3 alien girls crawled to his side. Their glowing eyes were dim now, weak after pouring their strength into the shard. The youngest shook his arm, whispering softly, her voice trembling. "Wake, wake!" The soldier opened his eyes slowly. His vision blurred, but he saw them, their pale faces, their frightened eyes. He tried to smile, though blood touched his lips. "You're alive," he whispered. "Good." The eldest girl clutched the shard, now dull and silent. She pressed it against her chest, then against his hand, as if begging him to take it. But he shook his head. His hand was too weak to even close around it. "No," he said softly. "Not me. You keep it. You carry it." The girls looked at him with confusion. The youngest pressed her forehead against his chest, listening to his failing heartbeat. The middle sister whispered words in their alien tongue, tears sliding down her cheeks. The soldier coughed. His eyes drifted to the night sky filled with stars. He thought of Earth, green fields, blue oceans, voices of people he would never see again. He thought of his squad, of fallen friends, of battles fought and lost. He whispered almost to himself, "If humanity falls, at least let them live." The eldest girl leaned close, her glowing eyes fixed on his fading face. She understood something in his tone. She grabbed his hand tightly as if refusing to let him go. But the soldier's strength was leaving fast. His hand fell slowly to the ground. His chest rose once more, then sank. Silence. The 3 alien girls stared at him. None of them moved. None of them spoke. For a long time, the ruins were filled only with the sound of the wind. Finally, the youngest began to cry, her sobs echoing through the broken stones. The middle sister hugged her close, rocking gently. The eldest remained still, staring at the human's lifeless body. Her hand pressed against his chest where his heart had stopped. After a long while, she stood. She looked at the shard, then at the rifle in his hand. Slowly, with great care, she took the weapon from his fingers. She held it across her chest the way he had. Then she whispered a single human word, her voice broken but clear. "Hope." The others repeated it softly. "Hope." Together they carried his body away from the cliff, deeper into the ruins. They laid him under a broken arch of stone, covering him with scraps of cloth the way they had seen soldiers cover the fallen. It was not earth, not his home, but it was a grave made with care. The eldest placed the shard beside him for a moment. Then, with tears in her glowing eyes, she lifted it again. She knew they could not leave it here. The enemy would return. The 3 sisters stood together in the ruins, their faces set with new strength. The war had taken everything from them, their family, their people, their home. But now they carried something else too. They carried his memory. They walked into the night, moving quietly through the shadows. The youngest clutched the middle sister's hand. The eldest led the way, holding the shard in one hand and the soldier's rifle in the other. Above them, the stars shone bright. Somewhere among them was Earth, the world he had loved. They did not know if they would ever see it. But they carried his word, hope. In the weeks that followed, whispers spread among the ruins. Survivors told stories of 3 alien girls seen wandering with a human weapon, carrying a strange light. They spoke of how the girls whispered a human word to strangers, teaching it as if it were holy. Hope. And slowly the story grew. It became more than just a tale of war. It became legend. A legend of one soldier who in the darkest night chose to share his last food with strangers. Who guarded them when he could have killed them? Who gave his last breath so that they might live? The alien girls carried that legend with them. In every step, in every whisper, in every place they fled, they spread his memory. And though his body lay silent in the ruins, his legacy lived, because in a galaxy torn apart by war, one human had given them more than food, more than protection, more than his life. He had given them hope.